most famous physical therapist on the internet.
All right, we're going to talk about pain that you feel in the front of your hip, Brad.
Anterior hip pain,
Right,
we call it.
anterior in the front, right. And often that can be caused by a sort of pinching that's going on. Now, the same thing that can happen in the shoulder, impingement,
Right.
can also happen in the hip.
Sure.
So you got the ball, the femur, the femoral head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it fits into the socket, which is called the acetabulum.
Yep.
Now, if it's right in the socket, it's fine. There's plenty of room for it to move. But let's say it's moved forward a little bit.
We have a little piece of metal here that we can't
Right.
get off of Sam, so ignore that.
If it's moved forward a little bit,
Right.
now when we bring it up, it's going to pinch along the edge, and there's a round piece of cartilage in there. It can work on to the point where it can actually deteriorate it.
Right. That's the labrum, if you ever heard that from a doctor.
So FAI is femoral acetabular impingement.
Right.
And so if you might feel this, I felt it, but I had this
Mm-hmm.
when I was running.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people feel it when they squat, like
Sure.
they squat down and they feel pain in the front of the hip.
Yep.
That maybe
So-
what's going on.
Ooh, yeah.
So just a couple of simple things you could try to see if this helps. First off, if you stand a lot, and the reason I'm bringing this up, Brad.
Are we done with Sam?
Yeah, we actually I have a neighbor girl who lives in Hawaii now, but she's on her feet all the time. She had 2 FAI surgeries, and she's still having pain.
So surgeries that were supposed to take care of this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So when standing, what I want to make sure you're not doing is leaning on the ligaments like this. When I lean like this, I know this is exaggerating, but
Yeah.
I'm actually moving the hip forward,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm leaning on the Y ligaments, they call them, on the front of the hip, and it's going to stretch them out, and it's going to make you more prone to developing impingement.
Yeah, so the hip is actually being pushed forward,
Right.
and the Y ligament happens
And
to
the
be
pelvis is rotating
yep,
up.
right in there.
Right. So what you want to do is make sure you don't get comfortable by sagging into this posture. What you do is actually want to make sure you don't lock your knees first off.
Sure.
Your knees, you don't want to be completely straight. You want to have a slight bend to them.
Yep.
But a better thing to do is actually have one foot in front of the other, just slightly.
The old staggered
Yep.
stance.
A slight bend. And you want to make sure you're leaning forward a little bit instead of leaning back. If you lean back, you're going to possibly, put pressure on
Right.
the front
Yep.
hip.
And it might be that you just change your posture,
Right.
throughout if you have a standing job or where you need to stand, and which could cause irritation.
Now, in my case, the big cause of this when I was running is I was a little bit hamstring dominant. Now, this is difficult to explain, Brad,
Sure.
but what I want you to do is just walk. When you walk or run, use shorter strides.
Mhm.
Instead of hitting on the heel,
Yep.
like when you're walking along or running along and taking long strides and hitting on the heel, I want you to hit on the midfoot.
Sure.
So just work on that. Short stride, hit on the midfoot.
And I have a patient right now I'm working with. She has hip pain. She's had it diagnosed, no MRI yet, so they couldn't give her a final, definite. And what she's finding out is she 4-foot walks, her hip pain improves.
Goes away.
Yes. So I'm going to talk to her about getting a pair of zero drop shoes that are with the thin soles.
Why don't you explain what the zero drop shoe is, right?
You want to pull yours off?
Sure.
Sure. I've got a pair of these. I didn't wear them today because it was raining out, and I just bought them, But the thickness of the heel on the sole is the same as the thickness here. So then it forces you to have better posture. I'm not going to go through the mechanics.
Right.
But one thing I find out with these flimsy soles
Yeah.
is it's much easier for me to 4-foot because you can feel the ground.
Right.
And you can feel
It kind of forces you to.
it
to be
does.
Right.
I always used to make fun of you that
Right.
you can't 4-foot walk
Yeah.
but I got a pair of these shoes now, so it's like, oh, now it makes sense. I'm a little slow, but they're really
Right.
good. It helped me a lot.
Yep. They're a little wider too.
Oh,
So
that
your
helped my
toes fit
toes
really
a
well
lot.
there.
It's a
So-
win-win.
The last thing, Brad, in order to make sure that you are using your glutes more than your
Sure.
hamstring, we're going to have you just do a simple exercise.
You're not gonna do the grab.
No,
the butt walk.
no, I'm not doing
Good,
it.
good.
Watch move.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We're going to go ahead
That's an
and just
inside
do
joke.
bridging. So all you're going to do is real simple, Brad.
Yep.
I want you to lift up like this
Sure.
and do, sets of 10,
Yep.
but probably 3 sets of 10. And then eventually do it with just one leg.
Sure.
And that'll definitely work that glute.
And when you're doing with both legs down, really think about pinching those buttocks together, and that helps those muscles, glute muscles, fire and really get energized, if you will.
Now, I promised it to be simple, right, Brad? So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
3 simple things. Even you can understand, right?
Why, Bob? Why? I am a little slow, but
So
anything
am I.
else?
No, that's it. The big 3.